Hi guys and gals, Wolfgang here. Today we will be building the Abrams, the tank that defines the battlefields in the Near East since 1990. The kit I selected is the Trumpeter 5-in-1 box released in 2008. Let's see if my purchasing decisions were rational or just prolonged the release of this video. Spoiler alert, it's not the first of those two choices. Let's start right away assembling this box-shaped machine of doom. The first step is to assemble the road wheels, which is straightforward, on other kits. The molds aren't exactly sharp and there's a decent amount of flashing going on every single part. The sanding stick and files will be my best friends for a while. The wheels themselves aren't that bad, to be honest. What bugs me is the weird rubber/plastic material used on the end caps. Tamiya extra thin won't do nothing to it, and sanding it to get it in the right size is a pain in the butt. The normal plastic is soft at least, so sanding and filing it is pretty easy. Next up, the back of the tank. Everything goes together fairly well, there are just some minor gaps between parts. In order to get the backplate in place, I needed to pry the lower hole a little bit. That's it for the lower hole. I just glued the link and length tracks in place. The rubber ones that also come with it are pure garbage and they're too big. Just throw them in the parts bin and use them if you want to create track marks on dioramas. Or right in the trash where they belong. On a side note, the link and length tracks aren't much better either, but I just wanted this thing done, so I made my peace with it. The upper hull is well detailed, most notably the anti-slip coat. Assembling the small parts proved to be no problem. The clear parts used for the vision ports were easy to glue in place as well. In June 1973, the Chrysler Corporation and the Detroit Diesel Allison division of the General Motors Corporation were awarded the contract to build prototypes of the new tank designated M1, handed over to the US Army for trials in February of 1976. The first prototypes were armed with the license-built 105mm L/52 M68 rifled gun L7. And both were compared in field tests between themselves and to the Leopard 2. Chrysler Defense actively promoted the turbine engine model and was selected for the development of the M1. Chrysler's experience with the so-propelled land vehicles was going back indeed to the 1950s. After 1982, General Dynamics Land Systems division purchased Chrysler Defense, and initial production was set up at the Lima Army Modification Center at Lima in 1979. The first production vehicles rolled out on the factory in 1980. The first production was preceded by 11 full-scale engineering development FSED XM1 testbed vehicles produced in 1977 and 78, also called pilot vehicles, PV1 to PV11. The first batch of M1s before standardization were still designated XM1s as low-rate initial production LRIP models. Things aren't too bad until now. The turret may look simple by design, but my god is it overly complicated with this kit. I don't mind the high part count, no, not at all. I do mind that I have to remove flesh from every tiny part. And I mean every part. I also drilled 2 holes where the spare road wheel was supposed to be applied according to the instructions, but I decided to glue it to the side rack. My mistake will be covered with a homemade tarp. The particular hull front is composed of a beak sloped downwards, which joined an almost vertical glassy plate up to the turret. The whole armor is made out of rolled homogeneous armor, but the turret was made of a composite armor. There is a characteristic rear hull elevation to house the turbine engine. The sides are flat, but tooling storage is assumed by the turret sides and rear baskets and bins. Crew protection inside the tank comprised the Halon automatic fire extinguisher system. In addition, smaller handheld fire extinguishers are also provided. The engine compartment's one is engaged by pulling a T-handle located on the left side of the tank. Fuel and ammunition are safely stored in armored compartments with blowout panels to prevent ammo from cooking off if damaged, and the main gun's ammunition is stored in the turret rear with blast doors, which opens and slides automatically when ejecting a spent round. The tank is fully MBC proven with a special lining, the 200 SCFM clean conditioned air system, a Radiac radiological warning device, and a chemical agent detector, in addition to the crew's protective suits and face masks. The barrel was the worst offender of all, because it's a 2-piece mold. I just gave it a liberal amount of putty and sanded it down the next day. The Ballistics Research Laboratory at Aberdeen Proving Grounds began a crash program for a Chopham-inspired armor in 1978, and the first production M1 in 81 weighed about 60 tons fully loaded, combining normal RHA steel armor and the new composite special armor, layers of both steel and composites, heat and shock absorbent materials, proven against any sorts of heat and kinetic energy penetrators. The general scheme is derived from the Burlington armor tested on the Chieftain. It is a multi-layered armor combining various alloys of steel, sandwiched with ceramics and plastic composites, including Kevlar. The order of these layers and relative thickness are top secret and classified. The whole has an equivalent of 1320 to 1620 mm of RHA on a turret front against all chemical energy rounds, and 940 and 960 mm for kinetic energy penetrators. The M1 also tried in operations reactive armor over the track skirts to defeat RPGs, mostly encountered in an urban environment, or flat armor against ATGMs. A Kevlar liner prevents any spalling. Let's move quickly to the painting phase before I burn this thing with a flamethrower. I'm starting the whole process with the tracks, since it will be much easier to mask them, and the road wheels and the drive sprockets. I use a nice medium grey base tone mixed from German Panzer Grey and Off-White. I have to pre-weather them in order not to make the rubber pads look rusty. I'm just spackling rust zones with a brush and a toothpick. Now that the tracks are painted, I can paint the whole tank in the tan base tone. Once that is done, I can apply the green camo paint as well. The big heart of the Abrams' siege of unparalleled performances is the Lycoming AGT 1500 multi-fuel gas turbine, later manufactured by Honeywell, capable of delivering 1500 shaft horsepower. It was served by 6-speed for forward to reverse Allison X1100 3B hydrokinetic automatic transmission. Top speed was 45 miles per hour on paved roads and 30 cross-country with a governor, but up to 60 on road with the engine governor removed, which was way ahead of the M60 and M48 and equaled the Christie race tank performances back in 1930. However, in operations to prevent any damage to the drivetrain and shock injuries for the crew, a cruising speed of just above 45 miles per hour was maintained. The engine is multi-fuel according to NATO standards, accepting diesel, kerosene, motor gasoline and even high-octane jet fuel like JP4 or JP8. For logistical reasons, the JP8 is preferred by the US military. For the first time, the turret was designed from the beginning to operate a laser rangefinder, a ballistic computer, a gunner thermal imaging day and night sight, a muzzle reference sensor to measure the gun tube distortion, and a wind sensor. It was a real leap forward compared to previous generations. The Fire Control System computer is manufactured by Computing Devices Canada based in Ontario. It is composed of an electronics unit, data entry and test panel. The range data is transferred to a computer that calculates the fire control solution. This data includes the lead angle measurement, band of the gun, wind velocity crossed with data from the pendulum static can sensor. Manual inputs to the FCS are the ammunition type, temperature and barometric pressure. The very core of the early Abrams was its M60A1 105mm rifled gun, similar to the one used by both the M60 and the upgraded M48, and license built after the original British Royal Ordnance L7 gun. The turret is however tailored to accept the German Rheinmetall 120mm gun if necessary. With the advent of the more advanced 105mm rounds like the DU penetrator M833 round, it was possible to delay gun upgrade until 1985. This is called the M1A1 already. Despite the arrival of the T64 and T72 in the Soviet arsenal, both armed with 120mm guns, in addition to the T62. The improved M883 round was indeed capable of penetrating 420mm of road homogeneous armor at a 60-degree angle at 2000 meters. This gun can fire a large variety of ammunitions in use within NATO, including the following series shown on screen. The optimal range was 2000 meters, which gave the highest percentage of first hit probability, and the maximum range was about 3000 meters. After the painting is done, I applied the satin varnish to protect the paint job from the weathering chemicals and to create an even surface for the decals. No footage since it's boring to look at. I use Mr. Microsoft Neo to apply said decals. And the decals. They are material-wise fantastic, but they look completely different than they should. The tank's name is another God creation, not another bad creation. And the numbers on the turret side should be white. What the fuck, Trumpeter? The major upgrade of the Abrams centered around a new 120mm smoothbore gun and a series of protection improvements and other upgrades designed to keep pace with the contemporary advanced Soviet designs such as the T-64A, upgraded T-72, and the T-80. External differences are easy to spot. The turret is the long model, at the rear with the rear bustle rack for improved stowage, a thicker front armor, new blast doors, new engine compartment access doors, reinforced suspensions, pressurized MBC system, the absence of drive sprocket ring retainer, and moreover the shorter and thicker gun barrel and more massive bore recuperator. The M1A2 is the sum of improvements over the M1A1, but moreover a brand new FCS with a more powerful computerized core, and consisted in a commander's independent firmware viewer and weapon station, a new position navigation equipment, and other controls and displays managed by the central digital data bus. More data can be threaded simultaneously, improving the tank's first hit probability, range and rate of fire altogether. Here I'm applying a highly diluted dark brown wash to bring out more details. The hull is made out of solid, rolled homogeneous armor, single block made of massive parts welded together. Bottom, front peak, glassy plate, sides and the rear plate, with compartmentation. The driver is located in the front center at the feet of the turret ring, with 3 periscopes, and a one-piece hatch which can be opened at any time in regards to the turret. The next step is to apply pigments. I'm doing so by mixing them with water. I'm able to control the placement of the pigments much easier this way, and I can always remove excess with a wet brush. And that's it. I didn't want to create an overly rusted and weathered tank this time, and the Abrams was the perfect platform for this. Let's recap quickly. The kit itself looks decent enough and is priced quite low, about 25 euros, if you take the dozen add-ons in account. That however does not negate the fact that the quality of the molds is just abysmal and the tracks fit like clothes on a whore. Very loosely. It was just a pain to get everything sanded and aligned right, and I'm pretty sure most of us don't have enough time to deal with that every single part. And the decals, as mentioned before, just suck. It's not that the tank has any sort of copyrights that the decal manufacturer must adhere to. My favorite part is the Trumpeter called this tank another bad creation, and at least they know what they fucked up. What's the outcome of this review then? If you can get a hold of it for free or cheap, then it's a meh. If you paid 20 euros or above, well, I can only wish you luck and nerves of steel. There are better Abrams kit out there, and in this case I will advise you to spend more money. It's just not worth the anger and, well, it sucks. If you like this video and want to see more tank related content on our page and on YouTube, please visit our Patreon site if you would like to donate. For more interesting content, visit one of the shown outlets. Thank you for watching this video. Next time we will take a look at another big cat and also create a little diorama for it.